Welcome to day 185 of the 300 movie challenge. Today we watched the highest grossing film of October 2009, which was Michael Jackson's This Is It.
What do we say? Okay, well, hold on.
Kind of hard to talk about
Yeah,
this.
so, first of all, I think it's pretty safe to say that none of us have any connection to Michael Jackson's music whatsoever.
The only connection I think we can all, well, I can't say for your mom, Fallon, but at least in terms of my mom and Maya's mom, both of them like Michael Jackson's music and everything.
And whenever I heard it on the radio, when they do play it quite often, I didn't mind it. I quite liked a couple of the more popular songs.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear it nearly as much. Actually, the funny way that I found out that mom liked Michael Jackson was because we had Guitar Hero, and the one Michael Jackson song that was on it was Just Beat It.
Oh!
And that was the only song that Mom knew out of all the songs on Guitar Hero. She was like, I know that song, I can sing that. And meanwhile, me and my brother were like, oh, okay. So, yeah, and that was when I played the bass on Guitar Hero.
Nice.
I know my mom said that she likes his dancing, but doesn't really care for his music. But
Okay, I guess
yeah.
that's a fair.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, definitely not the style of music I'm into, but for what it is, it's fine for me. So
Yeah.
I'm not ew, So, yeah. So that's our take coming into it, and I thought
Yes, the only two things we can really compare it to are, it's not even in the same ballpark as this. It's just that this was a different band, but this is loads better than Spice Girls, and it wasn't even meant to be a theatrical thing.
Oh yeah.
Well, see, what I thought they were gonna do is with the footage they got and how they had a few clips of them kind of talking to various people, right? I thought they were gonna try to kind of have a sort of story out of it, right? Maybe kind of a story about the production of this tour or whatever, right?
Right. I
But
thought there'd be more talking, more people
Yeah,
being
but
this is what we did.
it's pretty much just video of them rehearsing, which
Yeah.
is fine. I mean, it's what it is, but I don't know, I kind of expected something a little bit different. But and also because of that though, it's much more on do you want to listen to this music and see the dances for it? And it's if the answer is yes, you'll like it. If the answer is no, then you won't care. So it's well, so
Yeah.
yeah, it was
I
interesting.
don't really know how we can talk about this
Yeah.
because it's about a real person.
That
Well-
too, it's about a person before they unexpectedly passed away too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting for me that when I was in elementary school or whatever, Michael Jackson was he was the butt of the joke.
Yeah,
Right.
that was the same.
He was,
for
it was
me
oh,
growing
Michael
up,
Jackson,
too.
he's the weird dude who did stuff with kids. You know what I mean? That was what everyone
Yeah.
said about him. So that's all any of the thing I knew about him. I I'm sure I knew that he made music and stuff, but I didn't, that wasn't the immediate thought, right?
Right.
And it was it seemed it was one of those things where when he died, it was this, all of a sudden everyone was it was everyone was ragging on the guy, and then he died. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden everyone's shit, we were assholes. And was suddenly everyone was loved him.
That's the really crappy thing about it, because it's like he went through a lot. I watched an actual documentary about his life. I think probably around 2008, 2009, or 2010. I watched a documentary about how like he grew up and what he went through before like the Jackson 5 broke up, and before he went solo, and then before he got his disease. And he had a pretty hard life, and I don't think people understood that until later, which is why, we were totally assholes, because I mean, I'm sure he might have done some flawed things. I mean, everyone has their flaws, but
Yeah, I like from what I could gather, and this is a super cursory glance at like Wikipedia, basically. But
Oh,
like,
so we did the same exact thing.
yeah, the whole like child, issues with that. Like, there was no conclusive verdict at all. So
Yeah.
so we kind of can't. Again, maybe there's more information that I just don't know about. But from what I looked at, it was basically like, there was no definitive verdict, so that therefore it's like,
if it was never proven either way, then you can't pass that judgment.
Yeah, like, first of all, if it was true, then that sucks, and he shouldn't have done that, and that was a bad thing, okay?
Yeah.
And, if it wasn't, but I would say, again, from just what I looked at, it's an equally valid thing to think that it didn't happen, in which case, then, well, it doesn't, so I don't know, it's just weird to think about, and, like, I looked this up, and while I was reading about him, and I feel like I must have, like, heard this as a fact before, but it kind of struck me where that Thriller is the best-selling album of all time.
Oh yeah, I heard, I saw that fact.
Yeah,
too.
and not only that, but also of the, like, list of best-selling albums of all time, he has the most albums on that list
Wow.
of anybody. Even more than, like, the Beatles and, like, anyone else, right? So it's just kind of this thing where it's, like, it's just weird to kind of see this now, kind of, And
Yeah.
apparently, so about this tour, he was, again, he couldn't make this, like, comeback tour, and he hadn't actually done a tour in, like, over a decade before that.
Because of all the allegations and
Yeah,
everything.
and so... And it is kind of like the from just watching this, it kind of makes it seem that like this would have been like his last tour ever, and it seems like that probably wasn't the case, but like it was, it was still, it was at least like it was said like the last tour out, because the point is actually the tour was actually all supposed to be in one place, so I guess not, is it really a tour? But anyway, and it was a place in London. And it was saying, like, this was, like, the last time he was going to be at this place in London. So that seems like not quite as climactic, but, like, maybe it didn't. I think it was a bit more open to interpretation at the point, because he probably wasn't 100% sure. But
I guess what it could also be is, like, he wouldn't really know how he would be received because of the allegations and things like that.
Yeah.
Because I guess the thing is... Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
The thing is that let's compare Michael Jackson to Bill Cosby. Two very, like, equally as beloved figures, like, back in our parents' times. But the thing with what happened with Michael Jackson is that, again, the allegations were never conclusively reaching a verdict. There was no yes, there was no no. Bill Cosby had multiple allegations put up against him, and because of all the conclusive evidence, he was, found guilty, and that's why his image is marred. While Michael Jackson, he suffered from being the butt of jokes, but I feel like he wasn't villainized. He was more so just like, that
he was mocked more
weird
so.
dude.
Yeah.
He was more mocked, and that's kind of why I feel like maybe it would tip more on the no, because otherwise, like, pedophilia, that's a terrible thing, and if it was a yes, then I feel like he'd be more, ridiculed for it than just being like, oh, he's that weird dude with the weird nose who's like pretending to be white.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things also where like, and I've kind of had this like realization where like Michael Jackson was a weird guy. Like he was. Okay, that's not. I'm not saying that negatively. He just was weird, right?
Yeah.
And
he was unique.
Yeah, and so that. But the mocking from that happened because again, a lot of it was not just the allegations, but like again, like what you said with like his looks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like
his disorder and everything.
Yeah, and it's like, just why do you fucking care? You know what I mean? Like, why does this matter to you? You know what I mean? It's kind of like it reminds me of I'm not, it's similar to a lot of like transphobic comments where it's like, oh, look at this man or whatever, and it's like some, a trans woman or whatever, and it's like, why the fuck do you care? It doesn't matter to you.
Body.
It literally doesn't matter to you at all. You know what I mean? It's kind of like I had this thought process where I was like, as well. I think I was just like walking around and I happened to see like two gay guys like holding hands and kind of being like coupley, right, in public, and I have like a biological instinct for myself to think that like gay male intimacy is kind of gross, okay, as like a a deep subconscious thing which is personal like that. But so I had that thought, and then I was like, I can just go over there. You know what I mean? It's like it's like it's not my fucking problem.
Yeah.
Like they're doing their thing, they're fine. If I don't want to look at it, you know what? I don't have to look at it. Wow. You know what I mean? It's like, it's, so it's this
revolutionary.
Yeah, so it's just kind of that sort of thought process that makes me think where Michael Jackson's kind of was like, that whole thing about him was kind of similar to that, and it just kind of bothers me how, like, that's such a common thing with people still, where they harp on shit, like, a lot of trans stuff now, and, is very common in like gender identity shit where people are like making fun of that for other people, and it's like, sure, do I think some of that's weird? Yeah, but it doesn't affect me, so I don't care. If you want to, I'm not when I say weird, I don't mean that negatively. I'm just saying it's quote unquote,
it's not something that you inherently like relate to.
Yeah, and it's not something the majority of the people do, right? Again, not saying that's a bad thing, that's just a statement in terms of facts, right? Like, the majority of people are not trans, right? So that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
So it is something that you could consider, therefore, if you think of weird as a definition of something that is different than what most people do, right? Then, again, as a purely factual kind of statement, then yeah. But, so it's like, is that something that's kind of strange? Yes. But it doesn't matter to you. So let someone be strange. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's whatever, right?
Especially if it's not doing any harm to you either.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyway.
What I was going to mention with, when Mayan, you mentioned the fact that he might not have been sure how the allegations would have affected if, like, people see him and stuff. Apparently, there were 50 concerts that were going to be held, and all of them actually did sell out.
Well, actually, no, there's more than that. There were originally going to be 10 concerts. And then they were like, so many people were interested in this, they're like, shit, we need a lot more. And then they got to 50, and then they had those also sold out. And I was reading about how, like, the websites, like, to sell the tickets crashed, like, immediately because, like, literally, like, over 1 million people tried to buy tickets the first day. And it's like,
I don't think he had a problem with knowing whether or not the
Yeah, so... And then, all this preparation was put together, and then he died, I believe it was, like, 16 or 18, or it was something like that. Just a few weeks
some
before...
amount of days before the first concert,
yeah.
I think.
And he went into cardiac arrest due to some drug overdoses, and there's an issue about like he was staying with like a care physician that was like supposed to like be helping him with the drug stuff, and so there was apparently he was like convicted of like involuntary manslaughter because like he was supposed to be the one in charge of him not to do that, and he,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
so there's again, I don't want to get into the whole specific details of that because I don't know them well enough, but it's it's really a shitty situation in general. Because again, the dude was 50. He wasn't like super old, right?
Yeah.
And again, like watching the video, you know, that we saw, you know, he was active, right? He was moving around, he's doing the moves, and you know, so it's not like he's some
Doing
old guy.
moves that there's no way that we could do.
Yeah. So
It was interesting to see how happy he was performing, because I've always heard that his strongest suit was his performance, and before this point I never saw anything besides like a couple of music videos, but seeing him like live-ish, since this is all like video diaries, you can see it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
You can definitely see it.
And actually, it was interesting from my perspective because, like, I mean, okay, I don't really know that many live, like, concerts, but I went to a few when I was younger, and I have seen some recordings of some, but, like, again, the stuff that I go to and listen to is very different, right? So, and in terms of, you know, a kind of concert that I go to, it's in terms, and also, especially, like, especially, like, now, like, if I was to go to a concert now, it would be for like a very small number of bands. It would have to, and it would like, you know, have to not be in a weekday, and like, you know, have to be somewhat close-ish, and you know, so there's a bunch of criteria and, you know, timing for it to work. And again, I only feel like there'd be a very few number of bands that would qualify, just the effort anyway, because also, like, you know, live metal shows, you know, in terms of musical quality, they don't sound that great, as you could imagine. So, you know, it's just like, I'd rather just listen to the normal version of the songs. But, you know, so, and also the stuff that the people who I would see are not, you know, mainstream popular at all, right? I think, like, of my favorite bands that I would go see, that I would probably want to see live, I think, you know, who's most popular? I don't know, probably Dance Gavin Dance. And again, they're just like, they're, you know, most vast majority of people don't know who they are. I think the Facebook page is like a couple 100,000 likes or something, you know, which is something, but it's not, you know, 66 million albums sold, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but the point is, like, those kinds of shows, they're not about this, like, performance aspect of it, right?
Right,
There's this
yeah.
whole extra performance aspect of it for, like, Michael Jackson that's just interesting from, like, a tech standpoint and, like, a behind-the-scenes production standpoint to kind of see how that was, like, created.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With like the extra props, like the spider and
Yeah.
everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that, and then, so, you know, that's just interesting to see, you know, compared to just some dudes in, like, the corner of a room, you know, banging on shit, you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
it's just different to kind of see those, kind of things, and, yeah, I actually, there's this thing I specifically thought of, and I was trying to think about, like, oh, it was the fact that, like, the person who they had playing the guitar was, like, female, and I got into thinking, I'm like, do I know any band that has a female guitarist? Because I'm like, wait, I know female vocalists, I know Coal Chamber has a female bassist, I know Make Them Suffer and Savior has female keyboards, and I was like, shit, I don't think there's anyone I know who has a female guitarist. But then I was like, wait, no, there is one. Skillet has a female guitarist and drummer, actually. But, I mean, classifying Skillet as metal is, like, the most borderline thing you could do. But anyway, I don't even really listen to them anymore. But, I don't know. So it's just kind of like, huh. I like to see more, like, female representation and, like, at least, of course, in my music, metal in general, just because there's very little of that. And almost always, if there is any of it, it's usually the vocalist. Which is, like, you know, I guess makes sense, but it would be nice to kind of see a bit more, you know, past that. Maybe if you know...
Diversity.
Yeah, you know, and of course, you know, obviously, I know there's someone who's going to be like, why do you care, just as long as it's good music? And it's like, well, yeah, duh. Like, I'm not saying, like, oh my god, this band only has guys in it. I'm not going to listen to it anymore. Like, that's stupid, right? But, like, you know, it'd be nice to see, because, you know, why not? So...
Be more inclusive.
Yeah. Because, you know, metal is, like, totally dominated by white dudes. So, You know, and again, no problem with added context, but it'd just be nice to see more of other stuff. That said, actually, my favorite band, Loathe, has a, well, I guess, what would the term be? African European, because they're from the UK, vocalist, which is kind of nice. But anyway, but yeah, again, just seeing like the difference between those kinds of performances and all the production put into this is interesting. And again, in terms of the music and the dancing, I just don't care, right? Because it's not my kind of style of music. So, oh well. So, like, would I watch this again? No, I have no reason to watch this again. And, you know, was I kind of bored for some of it? Yeah, but there was some parts that I was a little interested in. Just kind of seeing what was happening. And, you know, it's not really... I didn't really know what to expect, but I wouldn't say that this, like, was less than what I expected. You know,
Right,
so
yeah.
It's, you know, like...
And it definitely at least perks your interest to learn more about the guy, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think pretty much anyone would expect this without us telling this to you. But if you're interested in Michael Jackson, go ahead and watch it. If you don't give a shit about Michael Jackson, you're not going to want to watch it. Like, you know, there you go, right? There's no...
Pretty easy.
Yeah, so that's kind of how it is. But, you know, again, as someone who doesn't really care too much and who saw it, it was what it was. It was fine. So, I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if there's anything else to add.
Oh, wait, me and you had a fact.
Oh, I had a small factoid. So, Kenny Ortega was the main choreographer, I think, and director of this, I guess, like, sort of video diary documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny Ortega was also the choreographer for all of the High School Musical movies. And I know this because I watched the first two on Disney Channel, and they also, like, aired behind-the-scenes stuff, just as random commercials every so often, and Kenny Ortega's name would come up, and I don't know why I remember his name. I think it's because, like, his name sounds
Especially
cool.
since I also remember seeing those behind-the-scenes things, and I never remembered that.
I guess the thing is that I always found his name to be really cool, so I guess the name, like his actual name, just stuck with me, and then I was like, oh wait, it's Kenny Ortega. He did High School Musical and Michael Jackson stuff? So I
Wait,
thought that was pretty
is-
interesting.
Ortega also the people that do the tortillas? Or am I thinking of something else?
I have no idea.
Oh no. I think it's at least a different person.
Thanks.
Could be the same family,
Yeah,
could
because
not
I
be.
remember there's like a brand of like either tortillas or it's like tortilla. It's like
I don't
tortilla
know.
chips, something. It's or cheese. I don't remember what it.
Gee,
I just remember
some kind of food somewhere.
it's some kind of food. And when I saw Ortega, I was like, wait, like the brand. And then that was my first English.
Oh my gosh.
Now I'm curious, but I'll probably look at that up soon after we're done with this.
Apparently there is a Nicaraguan politician who is president of Nicaragua since 2007.
Oh.
Oh wait, there is. Hold on, I found a like a brand website. It's taco, like tacos, like store bought like taco things.
Oh wait, is it the frozen like
Yeah, those kind of
Oh,
Oh,
potatoes.
things. Okay.
I guess he's the heir. He could be potentially the heir to a taco empire.
Oh, those tacos are really good. I remember getting them at Costco. We should end this right now.
I guess. Well, the only other thing for me, I guess I would say, is that I do kind of wonder that, you know, I'm just thinking, like, what if some of the bands that I listen to had this sort of, like, these resources to put on, like, shows or whatever, and I'm just like, fuck, that would be insane.
That'd be
Because, you know, it's something like especially, like, again, I go back to Loathe, what I said is my favorite band. Like, their music, like, it's very atmospheric in terms of, like, the kind of mood that they, like, portray. And just kind of, like, and you can get the sense of it from, like, watching the music videos. And again, it's like, it's clearly that it's, you know, there's not a ton of money poured into that, right? It's, you know, they're a rather small band from, I want to say Liverpool, but I feel like I'm going to get that wrong, who, you know, is a couple, I don't know, on Facebook, they probably have, like, what? I'm going to look it up now just because I can. They have 12,569 likes, okay?
Oh my god.
You know, not a lot, right? So I'm just thinking, like, those guys with that sort of, like, atmospheric vision of, like, you know, kind of a vision, and have, like, a visuals plus, like, music and, like, a thing going with that, I'm like, holy shit, that'd be fucking ridiculous. And so just kind of thinking of shit like that. And again, them, or, like, Silent Planet would be another one that would work really well because of, again, their music's very, like, atmospheric and mood-inducing, and they're the band where their lyrics have footnotes, and then the footnotes are sources, and it's like, good lord, you know. So lots
the
of
nerdy band.
Yeah, and a lot of it's like references to, like, biblical verses or works of fiction or even political speeches and all of this kind of crazy shit. And it's just, you know, again, imagining, like, millions of dollars of production value into something like that, like, you know, would be really important to me, right? Because obviously Michael Jackson is important to a lot of people, but just not for me, right? So just thinking about that and just being like, damn, that would be something. But instead, I have to like things that people don't know about, which makes me sad. But
On that
anyway,
very sad note, we go on to our next movie. Actually,
Oh, yeah.
You'll be happy.
well, okay.
Kind of.
So
Kind of.
I've said before that the next movie I'd classify it as, it's not a good movie, but I enjoy it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Hey.
I'll be interested to see you guys watch it.
Oh boy.
So
On that lovely note,
Yeah.
goodbye.
yes,
Bye.
goodbye.